Thank you everyone for joining us. We're going to get started here in just a minute. We appreciate all of you guys signing in. I see people calling in from all over the country. So thank you for being here, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm happy to bring to you the new features in Revu 2017. Today we're going to be going over our main focus for this year with Revu 2017, and we'll go over all the great new features. My name is Jeanette Papil. I'm a Senior Industry Specialist here at Bluebeam. I've been here about 4 years, but before I joined Bluebeam, I was actually a customer much like yourselves, and I was using Revu day in and day out on the architecture projects that I was working on. Found to be such a useful tool that I couldn't live without it, and now here I am sharing the new features with Revu 2017 with all of you. So again, thank you for joining us. As we get going today, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A panel to ask your questions. I have a whole team of people here with me ready to answer your questions. So please use that Q&A panel. And if we don't get to your question right away, don't worry, we have your email address and we'll contact you directly and answer your question. So I'm happy to share all of the new features. So let's go ahead and get started. So today, if you're new to Bluebeam, I wanted to share a little bit about us as a company. So whether you're an architect or an engineer or a contractor, or perhaps you're even an owner, Revu is an innovative technology solution that can help standardize your workflow and increase collaboration on your projects. We're used by many of the top U.S. contractors, design firms, and specialty contractors. So as you guys are working on your projects, you will find that Revu becomes a useful tool for all of your project solutions. Whether it's connecting people on the job site or just marking up your drawings to increase your process information, Revu is a solution that can be utilized throughout the entire project lifecycle. And keep in mind that with every single seat of Revu, Bluebeam Studio is our collaboration platform that helps connect project partners worldwide in a real time on the same set of centralized documents. Much of what we do is centralized on how you work. So we listen to the way you work. So by watching people in every single phase of a project, we come about with workflow solutions. So whether you're working in quantity takeoffs or perhaps you're in the punch process, we analyze the way you work and develop solutions to help you do your job better. So now I'm ready to share with you our focus for Revu 2017. This year we really tried to focus on workflow enhancements rather than just individual features. So this year I'm happy to share with you that our development focus was heavily concentrated on the quantity takeoff workflow. So now we've created new and improved tools to help create your bids faster and more accurately. We've also increased our workflow enhancements with automation and visualization tools. These tools can be used at any stage of the project, and I'm happy to share with you that many of these that are near and dear to my heart in the architecture world can be utilized throughout every single phase. So the first one, quantity takeoffs. Like I mentioned, we wanted to help you build a better bid. The first one that we're going to be going over today is dynamic fill. Dynamic fill is exactly what it sounds like. It allows you to fill a space with information, with measurement information, or perhaps you wanted to have a space. Now you can utilize dynamic fill. Next, we have an extreme-only feature called Quantity Link that allows you to link your Revu files with your Excel files. So rather than having to input your measurements and take off information from Revu manually, you can now link them, and that information is linked together rather than having any disconnect between the drawings. They are now linked. Next, we have the measurement tools enhancements. There are a lot of them, so I won't list them here. You got to hold on and stay tuned for some of those. And now we have count tool enhancements. Many of you have asked how to create custom count symbols. Well, now I'm happy to share that in Revu 2017, you are now able to customize your own count symbols. And perhaps some of my favorite features are under the automation and visualization tools in Revu 2017. The first one, automatic form creation. So many of you have used Revu in the past to create your forms for perhaps, let's say, timesheets, RFI forms, submittal forms. Now you can do them automatically without having to go and create every single form field. Now Revu does the work for you. This is an extreme-only feature, which we'll get to in just a little bit. And next, this is one that I definitely have lived through in the past. So having to sign and seal drawings, or perhaps some of your submittals on a deadline. I know it's a tedious process at times where you have to open each individual file and place that signature or perhaps your seal on those drawings. Now with Revu 2017, this extreme only feature allows you to sign and seal your documents in a batch with just a few clicks. So I'll go over that in just a little bit. And we know that technology is changing every single day, and many of you out in the field are already utilizing the new technology out there with 360-degree photos. So after watching many of you utilize these 360-degree photos, we decided to support 360-degree photos inside of Revu using the capture feature. So now you can document your project work on the job site, or perhaps use it for before and after photos or RFIs and whatnot. That 360-degree photos is a powerful tool that can be utilized throughout the entire project. And last but not least, be sure to stay tuned. We have some major enhancements with the 3D PDF workflow. I'm going to be showing you all the new enhancements, so please stay tuned to the very end where we go over perhaps my favorite feature in Revu 2017. So now the reason you're all here today. I know you're all here to see Revu 2017, so let's go ahead and jump right in. And I'm going to go ahead and jump right into Revu 2017 here. And you'll notice on the right-hand side that I have a takeoff drawing here of some footings. And on the left-hand side, I have my bid template in Excel. And in the past, I may have done all of my takeoffs inside of Revu. Then I would open up this markups list and take some of the information. So let's say my volume, my cubic yards, I would then enter it into Excel and copy it over. However, this process can be pretty tedious, especially if there are changes that are made to my drawing or my takeoff. Then I'd have to go back and update it in Excel. Now with Revu 2017, we take that extra step out of the process, and now we can link the two drawings together. So I'm going to show you how to do this. This is, again, a feature in Revu that is extreme only, but you can find the Excel quantity link inside of Revu 2017 simply by opening up your Revu file and your Excel file. And you'll see on this table, I want to see the total number of cubic yards of my footings. So I'm going to click on my cell and right click in that cell, and you'll see that it says quantity link. So I'm going to create a link between the two drawings by first selecting the drawing that I want to link to my workbook. So I'm going to go and browse to this file here, and I have my foundation plan there. And now it's going to go ahead and create that link between the two drawings. Once I click OK, now it's going to ask me, well, what information from this takeoff file do I want to see in my Excel table? So I'm going to choose the total measurement of, I'm going to choose my volume of, and I could choose the subject of footings. So notice that my takeoff, my subject is already set for me, and it says footings. So there we go. I'm going to say OK. And it populates with 164 cubic yards. And there on my screen, you'll see that in my Revu file, it says 164 cubic yards of footings. Now, I'm sure you probably asked, well, what happens if I delete one of these? You'll notice that my volume changes both in my Revu file and also in my Excel file. These are now linked together. So now as I'm working on my takeoff, you'll see that my Excel file is linked. So this is a great scenario. Perhaps you already have a bid template created in Excel. All you need to do is plug in that information and your drawings are now linked. The next question I typically get from people when talking about linking these files is what happens if you have multiple files? Can you link multiple Revu files to my template? The answer is absolutely. So in this example here, if I open up my materials list in my bid template, you'll see that I have multiple cells here that show my windows, my doors, my plumbing, and my roofing materials listed. And if I wanted to link these, I can simply right-click on any of these and say quantity link. And in here, you'll see under source files, I can browse to them and add those additional files. So I'm just going to go ahead and browse to this folder. I'm going to open all of these here, give it 1 second, And once all of these are added, I can then see in my table and now start linking and choose my what I want to link. So I'm going to just say create. And in this one, I want to see the count, and I want to see the of and a typical subject. So in this case, I want to see the windows, and I want to know the label. So in this case, I want to see how many of quantity type B I have, and say OK. And it will populate with each one of these. So again, if I right click in here and say quantity link, create, first choose the count of, and it gives me the subject of window. Then I want to place the label of type C. So you can continue to do this for your entire bid template. And once you've created that link, you now can keep working or update your sheets as you go. So again, this is an extreme only feature. Hopefully it will take some of the extra legwork out of your takeoff workflow. Let me go ahead and close out of Excel here. I'm going to keep moving along. The next one we have related to takeoffs and estimation is the dynamic fill feature. This feature is exactly what it sounds like. It allows you to fill a space. So let's go ahead and take a look here. You'll see that I've already started with my takeoff. And you'll notice I have some odd shaped rooms. And in the past, when you've used the measurement tools inside of Revu, if you're going to calculate the area, you would have to use the area tool and click around each room or each corner of the room to create your area measurement. Then let's say you decide that you wanted to create a space inside the exact same location. Then you would open the Spaces tab and have to retrace the exact same area of the room. Next, if you decided that, oh, you know what, I really would like to see the perimeter of this room. Again, a third time, you would have to come in and trace around this shape of the room. It adds a lot of extra clicks. So with Dynamic Fill, you're going to find the Dynamic Fill tool under the Measurements tab inside Revu and click on that icon with the paint bucket. Now you'll see the Dynamic Fill toolbar populates on the drawing. And the first thing you'll notice is that there's a tool on the left-hand side, and the first thing you're going to do is add a boundary. Because you're going to be filling this room, you want to first close off the room with a boundary. So I'm going to choose the boundary tool, and my door is going to be that boundary. So all I'm doing here is clicking between the 2 points to define my boundary. I also like to utilize the shift bar so as I draw my line so I know it's perfectly straight. Now that I've defined my boundary, I'm now going to fill the room or fill the space here with the paint bucket tool. And now as I hold this paint bucket and fill this room, I've now quickly filled up the space. Next, under Create, these are the items that I can create using the Dynamic Fill tool. The first one is space. So I'm going to go ahead and create a space, and I'm going to give it a name. So in this case, I know that this is room 225. I can choose the color for my space and the opacity, but that looks pretty good to me. So there it is. Notice it's highlighted in blue, so I'm going to create a space using Dynamic Fill. The next one is if you want to create a polygon markup, you can choose to use the polygon tool. But in this case, I want to create an area measurement. And what more than just an typical area measurement, if I use the drop-down list, you'll notice it populates with my tool chest items. So any area tools that I have already created in my tool set, you'll see listed here. So I'm going to go ahead and choose, in this case, I know that I'm looking for the area of flooring with the label of polished concrete. So whether you're looking at exterior finishes or you're looking at interior finishes, whatever they may be for your area measurements, you should select them from your tool chest. So now when I create my area measurement, it will be with the subject from my tool set. Next, new in Revu 2017, you can also create poly length, which I'll show in just a little bit. Or you can also just create a standard perimeter measurement. Again, if you drop down on the list, if you have any listed in your tool set or your tool chest, it will be shown there. Last but not least, if you want to create volume, perhaps you're doing footings or any sort of concrete work and you need to show footings, you can go ahead and pick them from your tool chest as well. In this case, I don't really need to see the volume, so I'm going to turn that off. Now, when I'm done with these, I can say apply to apply these measurements. There we go. In just a matter of seconds, it created the polished concrete area markup. It also created my space and my perimeter measurement. Just like any other measurement in Revu, they are all populated down below in my markups list. So if I wanted to see by subject or perhaps by space, I can see those markups in my markups list. The great thing about the dynamic fill as well is that it's great for odd shapes that you may have. Perhaps you're working with a civil drawing. In this case, I have a circular roof. Now if I use the dynamic fill tool, since this roof is fully enclosed, I don't need to define a boundary. I can start filling up this roof here with the dynamic fill tool. Now, again, if I want to create a space here, I can, but I'm going to turn that off. I don't really need it for my roof. And in this case, I'm going to choose a different finish there. And if I want to choose my perimeter, I can, but in this case, I don't really need the perimeter of my roof. And I'm going to say apply. And there's my clay tile roof, and it shows me the dimension there. So again, the dynamic fill tool is available on the measurements tab by selecting dynamic fill. When you're totally done with all of your regions on your drawing, you can click close and it will close that dynamic fill tool. So last but not least, let's go ahead and move over to some of our measurement enhancements with Revu 2017. I'm going to switch drawings here. And on this drawing, you'll see that I have a plumbing layout. So I'm going to start laying out my plumbing. But I know that many times if I start using my plumbing layouts, in the past I may have used the perimeter tool to start laying out my pipes. However, there might be times where I need to see how long a certain segment of pipes are. So in the past I might have had to use the perimeter tool, but I had to segment them out manually. Now with Revu 2017, the all-new polylength tool allows me to lay out my pipes and be able to see not only the total length of my pipe, but it also lets me show them in segments. In this case, you'll see that as I start using the polylength tool, it automatically snaps to content. And as I start drawing, you'll see that it tells me if I know 1 meter, 0.9 meters, and as I keep going, I can start laying out my pipe and get both the segment and the total length of my pipe. Now when I'm finished drawing, by double clicking, you'll see that it also allows me to see the segment measurement as well as the total measurement at the end of my pipe. What's great about the polylength tool as well is that you can add the subject and label just like you can with the perimeter tool, so that way your markups list is populated with that information. Also, as you're working, let's say you have this total length here of 4.2 meters. Let's say I need to change the diameter of one of these pipes. If I right click on one of these lines here, I can choose split, and it will split out that segment of that pipe. So now I can separate these two. If this one was perhaps a larger size pipe, I can go right click into the properties panel and change the subject to 4-inch pipe. And there I can put in a label of the type of pipe that would be. Also, what's nice about the polylength measurement tool is that if you right click on any of these, you can say split all, which will split up your line into individual pieces as well. So now you can see the measurements there. What's also nice, if you notice in this properties panel, we have changed the caption options inside of Revu 2017. In the past, when you chose show caption, it would show all or nothing. Now with Revu 2017, you can choose which captions you want to show. So you can choose just the label, just the length. If you're dealing, let's say, with area measurements or depth, you can choose to show just one or all of those as well. In regards to the segment values, right now I have the option to align all of my segment values to the line. If you want to align them horizontally, you'll notice that the alignment changes depending on the type of line you're working with. So again, inside of Revu 2017, take a look at some of the new show caption options as well as the show segment values. If you don't want to see all of them, you can turn them off and only see the final length. Also in Revu 2017, you'll notice in the markups list that we have a couple of new columns that we've added to the markups list. One of them being the width and height. This is great for those of you that are dealing with things like doors and windows. You can now see the scaled width and height of your measurements. If you want to see the document width and height, if you drop down to the columns list, you'll see document width, document height, but the width and height is your scaled width and height. Also, you'll see that there's a brand new rise and drop column. So this is great for things like piping where you have to account for the rise and drop. If you're dealing with, let's say, a roof and you have to account for a slope or maybe a ramp or grading drawings, you can now account for that using the new slope column. So let's go ahead and take a look at the rise and drop. So in this case, I know that this pipe, for instance, we have to account for the rise and drop. So let's go ahead and right click, open up our properties panel, and I'm going to switch over to our measurements panel on the right hand side. Notice here, this is where we can change our subject, our label, and also account for the rise and drop. This is the brand new column that we can enter in that information. So let's say, for instance, we have a 2-meter rise. So we can type that in here, and it lets us add that rise drop. Notice it populates right here on our drawing, as well as in our markups list. It lets us see that rise and drop. If you want to change that rise drop, you can do so by entering it into the markups list or in the measurements panel on the right hand side. And don't forget, again, in the measurements or the properties panel, you can change the caption. If you don't want to see the rise and drop, you can turn it on and off and only show the rise drop in the markups list. It's totally up to you and is customizable. Now, the next thing you might be wondering is that, well, how does the slope work and how does Revu account for the slope? So I'm going to go ahead and open up a roof plan here, and that roof plan has a set pitch. So let's go ahead and open up that really quickly here. And that roof plan is going to let me see the slope of my drawing. So let me go ahead and find that sheet for you. And inside that sheet, it's going to allow me to enter in the pitch of my roof. So you'll see here, here's my area, and it gives me the total area as well as the pitch. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. So inside of Revu 2017, if I open up my tool chest here and I grab my roofing tool, I'm just going to go ahead and drag out and define my area. There it is. Notice I haven't accounted for my roof slope yet. I'm going to first select the measurement, right click, and go to my properties panel. And now I'm going to go ahead and open up the measurements tab. Now you'll see under roof slope here where it says pitch. If you have your pitch or your slope is accounted for in degrees or grade, you can enter it in that way. But in this case, I know that my pitch is a 3 and 12 pitch, so I'm going to enter 3. There it is. And when I hit enter, notice now my area changes to account for that slope, and it tells me the slope right there on my drawing, 3/12 pitch. Notice again in my markups list, I do have the slope entered here in my slope column, so I can keep track of the slope over all of my measurements. So again, one of the first questions that I get when in regards to this feature is, well, how does Revu know which way is up? Well, the answer is it actually doesn't matter. Don't ask me how. I'm not some mathematical whiz, but I trust our mathematicians here that tell us that no matter which way your slope or which direction your slope is, it doesn't matter. It's just a plane in space, and it's accounting for that slope in any direction. So again, inside of Revu 2017, when you use that area tool, you want to right click and open up your measurements tab, or go to tab access and open up the measurements tab and enter it into the slope. Enter here. Again, you can use pitch, degree, or grade, depending on which type of drawing you're working in. Also keep in mind, as I'm going through all of these, I've already defined the scale, so I just want to point that out. So before you start using some of these tools, you want to make sure you've defined your scale before you start using those measurement tools. All right, so this is not the last measurement tool enhancement. The next one we're going to talk about is the all-new Cutout feature inside of Revu 2017. So in the past, we've had the Cutout tool for quite a while inside of Revu. And if you remember, the Cutout tool was restricted only to rectangular shapes. But we know that that's not always how drawings are made. So in Revu 2017, if you look at the Cutout tool, the symbol, the icon changed just a little bit. Now you have an option of a polygon cutout or an ellipse cutout. So now if you have an odd shape, you can actually click around that polygon to cut out rectangular shapes or any shape you wish. We also have the ellipse cutout, which allows you to take exactly what it sounds like, an ellipse cutout. So in this case, I'm just going to use the polygon cutout. And I'm going to cut away from these windows here. And we know sometimes once you cut out, you might have to fill them in. So now with Revu 2017, if I open up my tool chest here on the left-hand side, now I can actually fill in that finish here. So if I grab this tool, my area measurement, and drag open, notice now that paint bucket will fill in that cutout with the information from my tool set there. What's also great about the tool chest or the cutout feature inside of Revu 2017 is now if I right click on some of these, I can copy these and paste them as well. So what's nice about these cutouts, again, you can copy paste them. You can also delete one. Once you've selected one, you click delete, you can delete those cutouts. Kind of nice. And also, again, keep in mind that we have the ellipse cutout that allows you to draw your shape. And one thing that I love about it too is if you hold down shift, it will allow you to get a perfect circle. And again, you still have those nodes, so if it's not exactly where you want them to be, you can always drag them over and align them perfectly. In this case, I've already started to fill the windows with the tool in my tool chest. So again, once you've used the cutout, you can use the fill again to fill in those circles or fill in your polygons with the information from your tool set. So again, Revu 2017, your cutout tool is up in the measurements tab. Now, we have one more feature in regards to takeoffs and measurement enhancements, and that is the all-new Count tool in Revu 2017. I know many of you utilize the Count tool, and it looks something like this. So if you're counting something like doors, you would use the standard check symbol. However, I know many of you have asked me over the years, well, how can I change that symbol? What if I don't want to see the just standard check mark? If you right-click in the past and you went to the Properties panel, you notice that there were a standard set of icons. There were 5 icons to choose from. You might have been using triangles, circles, diamonds, whatever it is that you'd like to use. Now with Revu 2017, you can create a custom count symbol. So let's go ahead and show you how you can create your own custom count symbol. I'm just going to delete this count here because I don't really need those check marks. And I'm going to start by first creating a markup that will then become my count symbol. So all I'm doing here is I'm just going to go up to my markup tools, create shapes with a rectangle, and draw a little box there. Now I'm going to open up my properties panel on the right-hand side and just modify the visual appearance here. So it's yellow, put a highlight to it, and I'm going to put a subject of door, and under label, let's go ahead and label that solid core. So I want to start counting my solid core doors. Now what I want to do is I'm going to right click on that markup and say add to tool chest. Let's go ahead and put that in let's go ahead and just put it in general measurements. There it is. There's my door. Now you'll notice here I have my yellow door, but now I want to create it as a count symbol. So what you need to do is first put your symbol, whatever you want it to look like. It could be a snapshot, whatever you like, put it in your tool chest and right click on that tool and select create count. There it is. Notice it says count measurement and it says 1, 2, 3 with that little symbol. Now again, I'm going to go ahead and just change the subject though to door, and under label, I'm going to choose solid core. There we go. So now I have my door and it says solid core. So now I'm ready to start using the count tool to start counting those solid core doors. As I go through my counts here, you'll notice down below in my markups list, just like any other count tool, you'll see it shows me my doors. Notice I have a couple already here on my drawing. So I have green ones that show how many I have. And the nice thing about this is that it automatically splits my count by the space. That's why you see solid core multiple times in the list, is because it automatically tells me how many I have by space. So just keep in mind that it's really nice that it automatically does this. So if you're utilizing spaces, you'll be glad to know you can keep track of how many doors you have in each room because it's already split up by space. No matter what kind of markup you're using, you can add it to your tool chest and use the count tool. So notice here I have some that were already created for me inside of Revu. This is actually, I'm using what's known as a profile. And you'll see here I'm using the takeoff profile. So if some of you guys have never used profiles before, go to the View tab, switch to takeoff, and in the tool chest here, you'll see that I have one that says electrical. And if I want to start laying out my duplex receptacles, I can start using the count tool. And notice it's a custom count symbol that shows me the symbol that looks like a receptacle. I also have it for switches. If you're doing mechanical layouts, you can lay out your smoke detectors, your dampers, etc. All of that inside that tool chest there. So again, just keep in mind, first add it to your tool chest, right click and say create count. All right, so hopefully that will streamline many of your workflows in the takeoff and estimation world. But let's go ahead and switch gears a little bit and talk about automation and visualization. So inside of Revu 2017, like I mentioned earlier, we have an all new feature called automatic form creation. I know in the past, if you were utilizing the form tools inside of Revu Extreme, you would find them up here on my Forms tab. Now you'll see there's a brand new one that says Auto Create. What Revu is going to do is create all the form fields for me. So no longer do I have to say insert and start drawing regions for all my form fields. Instead, if I click Auto Create, notice it scans my PDF and it creates all of my form fields. But what's better than that is that it even opens up the Forms tab on the left-hand side, and you can see that they're organized and it knows exactly which form field is which and titles them for me. So now I don't have to keep track of them. And you'll notice that it doesn't just create text boxes, it also created a signature field on this RFI form. So now I can free to use this and send it out rather than having people just create random text boxes. It's a lot faster for them to fill out a form field. This is an Extreme only feature. And before you ask, just to answer your question, I'm sure you're probably thinking, well, how does this work with scan drawings? The answer is pretty darn well. I've tested it myself with many of your files out there. And the answer is that yes, we do support scanned PDFs as well. So you can take your scanned, let's say you have timesheets or a checklist, go ahead and utilize those because Revu can create with the automatic form creation. It will create text fields, check boxes, signature fields, and if there's other ones that you'd like us to support in the future, please email us. Again, if there's any features that you don't see here today, you can always send us your suggestions. We're happy to hear them. That's how we decide what is added year after year. So again, inside of Revu, you're going to go to the Forms tab and select Auto Create. Let's go ahead and switch gears just a little bit and talk about another enhancement to Revu 2017 that I think many of you will be really excited to hear about. So I know many of you out in the field are probably taking photos on a daily basis. I know for myself, I was constantly taking field reports and having to take photos every day on the job site. And when utilizing Revu, I was trying to always find innovative ways to include those photos with my drawings. So I know in the past we added the capture feature, which allows you to add your field photos to your markups. But now with 360-degree photos coming out, we decided to implement a way to support 360-degree photos directly within inside of Revu. So this is just a little markup that I've created. It's just a little grouped icon here of a 360-degree symbol. And now I want to add my 360-degree photo to this symbol. So just like I did in the past with our capture feature, I'm going to right-click on the markup, select capture, and I'm going to choose to browse to that file. So keep in mind, we are not actually taking a photo with Revu. So I'm not actually saying from camera because my device, my laptop here, does not actually capture 360-degree photos. I already took the photo out in the field. Now it's back on my computer here. So I'm going to just say from file, and I'm going to go ahead and grab that 360-degree photo. There it is. I'm going to say open. So once it attaches here, you'll see that it has my little icon with the little camera. And when I click on that little icon there, it brings up my 360-degree photo with a watermark letting me know that this is a 360-degree photo. The great thing about 360-degree photos, which I'm sure many of you have already experienced, is that you can zoom in and find more information than you can with a standard, just static, regular photo. Now, as I take a look around, perhaps there was something I didn't even think about taking a photo of. I can't tell you how many times I've been out in the job site where you're taking photos and you go back to your trailer and you're like, oh man, I forgot to take a picture of the ceiling, or I forgot to take a picture of this particular element. Now with 360-degree photos, you can really see how much more information is possible to be gathered with just a single image. So I know many of you might be asking yourselves, well, what does this do to file size? And the truth is, yes, 360-degree photos do take up more file size than a standard photo. However, the real great thing about it is that less is more. You don't need to take 20 360-degree photos on a single space. Like you would have with regular standard photos. So now you may only have just a few 360-degree photos out there on your drawing, as opposed to maybe having 30 or 40 standard photos in the same space. So if you have any questions on which cameras do we support, you can find the list on our website at bluebeam.com under the support page. I do know that by and far the most popular one out there is the Ricoh Theta S, which we do support, and the Samsung Gear. But again, if you want to see the full list of cameras, be sure to check out our website on the support page. All right, so again, on 360-degree photos, you're going to find them under the capture tool, and you'll also see in the markups list under capture, you do get that icon there. And if for any reason you need to share this file with somebody that does not have Revu, what happens when you create a 360-degree photo, when you export it out to a summary, let's go ahead and take a look there, and I do a capture summary. There we go. And I set that processing capture media. What happens is that it actually creates a panoramic photo like this. So now you can still see information from that 360-degree photo, but it is converted to a standard static image, but in a panoramic way. So there is still a way to share that 360-degree photo, even if somebody doesn't have Revu. All right, so last but not least, let's go ahead and talk about a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and that is 3D PDFs. So for some of you, 3D PDFs might be new to you, but hopefully after seeing what's possible with 3D PDFs, that might perk your interest in starting to explore the possibility of 3D PDFs. This 3D PDF was created using our plugin inside of Revit, and it was exported out to 3D PDF. I'm going to go ahead and just change my rendering mode here to CAD Optimize. That's my personal favorite. Looks a little bit more like what it looks like in Revit. So one of the things you might be familiar with already if you are utilizing 3D PDFs was in the past we had what's known as our 3D model tree. Well, this year, if I go to my tab Access and open up the 3D model tree, you might be surprised to see that it is now in the bottom here. And you'll also notice when you look at all the different columns available inside the 3D model tree is that all of the pertinent information from our Revit file is now shown below down inside the 3D model tree. So if you look under columns, you'll see all the different types of information that is available to us from our Revit model. Our part render mode, one of my favorites, the work set. So now if you wanted to organize the information by work set, you can. But one of my favorite features now in Revu 2017 is if I wanted to select a particular element, let's say this arched wall here, notice there's now an auto hide feature. So no matter which view I'm looking at that wall, it automatically sets everything around it to transparent. So now, no matter which element I'm looking at, it is now automatically visible no matter which view I'm looking at that model from. Also with the markups, not the markups list, the 3D model tree, excuse me, you can utilize the search bar here. So if you wanted to search for a particular element or type of element, let's say doors, notice everything else is hidden except for my doors. And in my model, everything is transparent except for my doors. And in the 3D model tree, I see a list of all of the doors. It tells me my type, my family, the phase, the work set, everything about those doors. What's even better than that, though, is if I go ahead and let's go ahead and just select one as an example. I'm going to go ahead and select one of my doors here. I'm going to right click and open up my properties panel on the right hand side. There it is. It gives me some information. Now the metadata is all important metadata from Revit. Now I can actually edit some of this metadata. So for instance, let's say some of the hardware set numbers was incorrect. I can go in here and edit that. Instead of 5C, let's go ahead and change that to 6C. And let's say, for instance, that jam detail is actually incorrect. It's actually 3C on A705. I can edit that there. Also, if I wanted to change the color of that door, I can now change the color of elements inside of a 3D PDF. I know many of you have been asking for that for a very long time. Perhaps you're trying to follow the BIM standards, and you now have to change things by color according to the BIM standards. Perhaps you're mechanical. You want to show what's hot and what's cold. You can now edit the colors of your 3D PDF elements by utilizing, again, you want to select whatever that element is, choose the color, and change it there. There you go. Now you can see that wall is blue. Perhaps you want to just bring attention to an item. Keep in mind when you use that search bar inside the 3D model tree, notice everything is still hidden, but as soon as I hit that X, it clears the search and everything is visible again. Also inside of the 3D model tree down below, you can organize things just like you can with the markups list. So if you want to organize things by work set, or perhaps you want to filter things by work set and you want to see everything that is under a particular work set, let's go ahead and say, here's our interior wall work set. Everything else is grayed out except for our interior wall work set. So hopefully these new enhancements to Revu 2017 in regards to 3D PDFs has sparked your interest in utilizing them in perhaps a unique way. We'd love to hear about how you're utilizing Revu, so if you have any suggestions along the way, keep in mind you can always send them to us. A quick little tip about how to do that, if you go to the Help tab and go under the drop down here, you always have the option to say Contact, make a suggestion. So always feel free to email us your suggestions. I kid you not, we read every single one, so send it on over to us. We'd love to hear what you'd like to see added year after year. That brings us to the end of our features in Revu 2017. Hopefully some of these new ones are ones that you're excited to start using right away, but for those of you that need some help and might want to figure out how do I best utilize Revu, perhaps you've just purchased the software or you're looking at rolling out the software, especially for those that are trying to implement standards company-wide, we do have a implementation team that's available to help you get the ball rolling and get everybody started on the right foot. You can email us at strategicdevelopment@bluebeam.com. And for those of you that just need some training, or perhaps you want to become involved and find out how are others in the industry utilizing Revu, I encourage you to visit our training page to learn about all the different training options that we have available. Anything from free training, self-guided training courses, as well as instructor-led sessions. And our Bluebeam user groups are a great way to find out about how Revu is being utilized out there. We have Bluebeam user groups across the country. You can email us at communities@bluebeam.com and get involved. And for those, I know today we went over a lot of new features, but if you are just starting out with Revu and really want to learn some of the basics, we do have Getting Started with Revu webinars. We do them pretty much monthly. So if you go to events.bluebeam.com, you can always join those for free. We have them about once a month, so be sure to check out our website. And we look forward to seeing all of you, hopefully this August at Bluebeam Extreme Conference. Every year we bring new content to share with you, as well as customers who come and share about how they're utilizing Revu on their projects. So this year will be August 14th to 16th back in Los Angeles, and our registration opens on April 4th. So be sure to get in early and save the date for us. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you for all of your questions. If your question has not been answered during this session, we will contact you via email. So thank you again, wherever you're calling in from. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for using Revu on your projects. We can't wait to hear from you. Thank you.